Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Wars podcast. At least for the next several weeks.
Oh
boy! That's right, it's shore leave 10 forwards times, and we're watching a Star War, or several Star Wars, chiefly the ones that we did not cover before. So that means the original trilogy, and the prequels trilogy, and the first film from the sequel trilogy. Does this also mean that we'll be covering the Life Day special?
No, because it won't fit in the calendar.
Damn.
And also, to actually find it is
really
not necessarily
easy, and
guaranteed.
We watched all of it very handily,
not
the last 2
easily
years.
Guaranteed.
That episode, that time where Grandpa Wookiee was jerking it to Fantasy Singer.
Dude, don't spoil the movie for me.
Sorry, I thought you'd seen Empire Strikes Back. Oh, speaking of Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, that movie.
That's what we're going to watch today. You know, the best Star War. The Star War where we hear the Imperial theme for the first time. And where we see fucking Yoda for the first time. And we find out some secrets about Luke's lineage. And we meet Lando, cape-wearing badass motherfucker Calrissian. And we go to Cloud City. And they finally fucking power C-3PO down a couple times. Those are like the best times in the whole fucking movies. All of them. Every movie ever. Except for the scenes he's not in. Those are also good scenes. What else happens in this movie? I don't know. We meet the Emperor. He has an ugly motherfucker. I know I don't have to summarize, but I'm trying to think of other good things that happen. Oh, we see those quill pig things. And Han's encased in carbonite. And we hear lots and lots of the catchphrases you know and love, such as, I love you, I know, and scruffy-looking nerf herder, and...
Scruffy-looking?
Exactly. And I thought this thing smelled bad on the outside.
Oh, you're showing catchphrases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and there's something happened on Hoth. It was fine.
Something happened on Hoth.
Yeah, there was some walkers. Texas
that
Rangers.
battle on Hoth. I totally
I
have already forgotten.
What? Imperial Walkers, Texas Rangers.
Thank you, Jake.
Well done.
Since you thought it was funny, that was officially just for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the movie. And if you want to know the temperature on Hoth, bitch, it's lukewarm. Ayo.
Excellent. Fucking excellent.
I both love and despise that in equal measure.
You're so welcome.
I only love it.
Thank you, Ames. That's because you're better in all ways than anyone else on the planet.
Well, I'm about to break your bubble here.
All right, get it.
Why is this the best one? Because maybe I'm just not a Star Wars person, but after this movie, I'm like, oh wait, that's right, this is the one that everyone says is the best. And I need an explanation.
I think it's the best because they're all actually middling movies at the core of them, and This is the least middling.
There it is.
Like, what do you mean?
Wow.
What do you mean, why is this the best?
Okay.
Because it is objectively the least bad, or the most good, whichever you prefer.
They kept George Lucas very, far away from this one, I think, and I think that helps.
Plus,
so hold on though.
All right.
We kind of started chatting, but who the fuck are we?
Oh, fuck.
Well, I feel like we haven't remembered to introduce ourselves for weeks.
No, I know, but it's especially important this week because we might not be alone.
The
Force is with us.
No. Darth Vader. I didn't know Darth Vader was
I didn't
gonna be
pay
on
for
the
a
show
cameo from Darth Vader. Jeez.
It's not a cameo. He's really here.
What?
Force ghosting around.
Well, I'm Caitlin. Who wants to introduce themselves next?
Usually Jake does.
Oh, am I next in the order?
Yeah.
I see. It's been so long since we've done this.
No, like literally though, right?
I'm Jake.
This is Chris.
This is Ames.
This is Carl.
What?
Darth
Carl.
Carl.
Carl, how'd you get
Good day.
here?
Zoom.
Ooh.
No, it's a
Warp speed?
No, that's
Light speed.
I don't know what they call communications in
Hyperdrive.
Star Wars.
Radio.
I fixed the hyperdrive.
There we go.
Good
He fixed
job.
it. There we go.
There it is. There it
That
is.
time somebody did.
It's not my fault!
Okay,
Oh god, Jerry Seinfeld.
I want to see a Star Wars remake with the cast of Seinfeld.
No, God, no. Jerry Seinfeld is a terrible actor.
Let's
Yeah,
see,
but
Jerry
I
would
mean,
be
Isn't everybody?
Han.
Aren't a lot of people in a Star War too, or some people in a
Not
Star
as
War?
no. He is.
I guess
he's a terrible actor.
he's really elevated by his co-stars on that show.
I feel
Yeah.
like he would have to be. I feel like he has to be R2D or C3PO, doesn't he? Kind of.
He could be, yeah, he could be C-3PO, and then George could be R2D2.
Beep, Jerry, beep.
Excellent. Well done.
And
So, yeah.
Kramer could be
Yeah.
the racist one. Oh,
The Emperor?
yes. Is the Emperor racist?
In the expanded universe, usually.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Oh, well, too bad that isn't canon and no one gives a fuck.
Yeah, that's why you never see any aliens in the Empire.
Yeah, that
It's
was
all
literally. It
humans.
was just a way to explain away why all the
Oh.
stormtroopers were human.
I
No
know
explanation.
that.
He only liked British guys.
Yes, no explanation as to why most of the rebels were only human.
Yeah, we see more variety in the Rebels. I
Yeah,
think.
there's
A little bit.
There's
It's a trap
Mon
man.
Calamari there.
Yeah.
Not yet.
That's it. It's
Well,
the
no,
next
but
movie.
just in general.
A lot of money, more aliens in the rebellion.
Yeah.
Seems like they had
This-
a lot of money in this movie too, compared to the previous
They had
one.
fucking
They did,
transporters and
interestingly.
shit.
Interestingly, before we get into it,
You're always trying to
George
stop
had
us
a-
from getting into it. What the fuck?
George had a plan B. If Star Wars,
I thought you meant George Costanza, and we hadn't gotten off of that yet. Damn
Sorry,
it.
no.
He's
God
gonna tell you
damn
to
it.
go back to the jerk store.
Beep!
sorry,
It's the summer of George.
George Lucas had a plan B for if. So there were three possible outcomes as far as he could tell for Star Wars. Either it would flop and nothing would happen with the franchise ever again and whatever.
Yep, done. Check it off the list.
Which did seem likely based on how shitty of a director he is. Go on.
It does well enough to get the sequel he wants, or it does just well enough for Fox to say, all right, we'll do one more, but you gotta scale it back. So he wrote a treatment for a different sequel, which would have
yeah.
been Luke and Leia, because Harrison Ford was expensive and already bitching about Star Wars.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I think this became like
jerk
a
off.
book or something.
Yes, called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I read it 1,000 years ago, and it was weird. Like, it would have introduced some really bizarre concepts relating to the Force, and yeah, it's probably for the best that it didn't happen that way. But
Huh.
if anyone is interested, I think you can still buy it somewhere.
Does
Amazon digitally, if
yeah.
nothing else.
does it introduce the idea of the mitochondrians?
No, it had to do with like a bunch of weird crystals instead.
Sorry, isn't it midichlorians?
Yeah, that's the joke.
Oh.
But yeah, it would have all taken place on one planet to save money on like locations.
Bottle episode, eh?
Pretty much, yeah. Just Luke and Leia. Maybe the droids were there. I don't remember. But yeah,
Well, we
so it
already
would have
got the droid, so why not?
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Anthony Daniels will work for
Peanuts.
sandwich money.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
poor
complain about
Walter.
it. But
Yes.
he will work.
Yes.
Oh, is Anthony Daniels the Walter Koenig of Star Wars?
No, because by all accounts, Anthony Daniels is a prick.
Oh, well, never mind
Is
then.
he really?
Whereas people seem to like Walter Koenig.
I
He's a
like Walter
prick?
Koenig.
Yeah.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, no,
Not
he is
surprising,
apparently
but it
a
is upsetting.
huge asshole,
Hmm.
Wow. That's
unfortunately.
wow.
Well cast then, because nobody likes C-3PO either.
Yeah.
Now, was it the fame that made him an asshole?
That I don't know.
I just wanted to
Imagine
be
that,
like,
though.
what
Imagine
fame?
being like a big, full of yourself jerk off because you played the fucking golden robot
the
in Star
annoying
Wars
robot
that everybody dislikes.
Yeah.
Well, I think he did a lot of theater as well. And it may be the kind of deal where he's resentful that he is
The golden
well known
robot.
for. Although he grabs, like, he's always C-3PO.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how small a video game you make, you'll get him.
Yeah.
And he'll...
We should
Say,
invite
like,
him
how
onto the
mad can you
podcast.
be when you're making hand over fist for fucking bullshit for the rest of your life? Like,
Yeah.
I know.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, it would be great to be known for something that you felt strongly about artistically, but on the other hand, he sleeps on a big fucking pile of money at night.
I think he's been in more Star Wars movies than anyone else.
Yeah, I think he's been in all of them, right?
No, because he wasn't in Solo.
Oh, 3PO wasn't in Solo, but Anthony Daniels was.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, we talked about this when we covered Solo. He was He was a Wookiee named Tak.
Okay. So there we go. He's the only person to be in every Star Wars movie.
Although I heard Mark Hamill also announced that he was actually in every Star Wars movie, but not you can't tell he's playing.
Oh, that's right. He's also a lot of voices.
So they may be tied. Yeah.
Which is great.
Except
he
he's
does
not
good.
in the prequels, of course.
Yeah. Mark Hamill seems great. Like.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's the difference. Nobody fucking hates Mark Hamill because he's a fucking delight.
He is. In this movie, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I've always said like Mark Hamill. I feel like Mark Hamill got his dream job, but didn't know it because Star Wars didn't exist until he was in it.
But, he created his own dream job.
Yeah, like he's one of those people that, had he grown up on Star Wars, had been like, I want to be in Star Wars someday, but instead he was already in Star Wars. So sorry, what were you going to say, Carl?
Yeah, tell us about this movie, Carl.
I'll tell you why I think this is the best of the saga personally. And part of it has to do with Mark Hamill. I just think this is the best directed movie. I think that the characters are most interesting. I think the lighting is best, honestly. I think it has the most different kinds of topography. I think that because the cast knows what they were doing, and because the director Irving Kershner could sort of pull stuff out of them, a lot of it is written for human drama rather than the sort of lock down the camera and go Lucas style. And for Mark Hamill in particular, I just think he's the perfect age at this movie for this movie. He whines a lot, but he's also like, he's getting buff. He's exactly at that sensitive kind of age where he's not like a mature Jedi Knight. But like every scene with him and Yoda, I just love.
Yeah, that's because Yoda's in it, though.
And that's because Yoda's in it. And I don't know. They were completely afraid of Luke and Yoda because they were like, this is going to come off like a children's show. And I swear to God, I don't know what it is that makes those scenes better than like Blue's Clues, but it works.
Whoa. Are you saying something is better than Blue's Clues, Carl?
That's actually
that's
very
Only
timely,
one.
too.
Yes.
That's the second Blue's Clues reference I've heard today.
That's because Steve recently
He's been around.
made us all a video to tell us how sorry he was for ditching us 20 years ago. That fucking
And he
jerk.
still loves us.
I must be the only person
to know.
who did not watch Blue's Clues.
Only
You
reason
are.
I watched Blue's Clues was because it was the only way to get to the fucking Nick in the Afternoon shit I wanted to watch. It was Nick Jr. or bust when I was a kid, man.
Yeah.
It's the only thing on, so it was like, fine, Blue's Clues is fine. When Gullah Gullah Island comes on, I'm going to switch to soap operas, but I'll watch Blue's Clues, mostly because I had a little bit of a crush on our best friend Steve.
See, I was watching reruns of Quantum Leap on
See, I had a bit of a crush on Mailbox. I got a type though. Oh man, do I have a type?
It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. Anyway, I love Steve. I'm glad that he's okay.
I gotta say, so just quickly going back to the Mark Hamill thing, it's very clear that he got either some acting lessons or he thrives under a director that directs, because his performance was much improved.
He acts best with puppets.
Well, we said it before. We probably said it last week. George Lucas doesn't know how to direct people. He just doesn't. He doesn't know how people talk. He doesn't know how people act or think. Like, it's very strange.
It's almost like he's not people.
Yeah.
I actually think maybe Mark Hamill had a life-threatening accident and maybe that shook something loose.
It's true.
Maybe he had more to draw from.
Yeah, which I don't know if this is... I know that he had a major car accident and had to have like facial reconstruction. And I remember hearing that the whole monster attack on Hoth was sort of done to write in his appearance. Yeah, his appearance having changed signisigniantally. I don't know if that's
who the
if
fuck
that's
can
a true
even
fact.
tell though. Who the fuck could even tell? And who could have told in like the 80s? Like on the big screen, yeah. But like if you were watching it at home on your fucking 12-inch cathode ray TV with your early VCR. You weren't going to be able to tell. He looked exactly the fucking same to me, and I've got HD.
What's funny to me is I always thought he looked more different between Empire and Jedi than between New Hope and Empire. But it might just be because they cut his hair.
It's because he finally went through puberty.
I think he looks older. Like I know it's only been 2 years or 3 years since the previous movie, but he looks considerably more mature to me.
Yeah, he stops looking like your doofy little brother and like someone you'd like to bang in Empire, I think. Speaking only for myself.
Oh, well. I mean, when he was running around in the swamp, climbing ropes and shit, I mean, I want to do that because that looks like fun. But also, I want to do that because that looks like fun.
I'd like him to climb me like a rope. Wear me like a backpack.
I read that, and I don't know. Good God. What does that mean?
You fucking know what it means.
Jesus Christ. All right, cool.
I wish you were Yoda.
Buffalo Bill school supplies.
I mean, if they don't make a backpack that is shaped like Yoda, and also if they don't make a backpack shaped like disassembled C-3PO.
They might not. But they also, I know that. Are you just about to talk about Think Geek, Jake? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
go ahead. Yep.
There was a Think Geek, which used to be was like a apparel store for nerds.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're gone. Fuck.
They're gone? When did that happen?
They got bought by
Hot Topic.
GameStop, I think.
Dang.
And then they just kind of phased it out.
Oh, boy.
But yeah,
so like
they had
loved it as a new
they had
a
April Fool's joke one year that you could buy the Tauntaun sleeping bag. And it was an April Fool's gag.
Damn it!
But like
That's
everybody
brilliant.
was like, "I want the," so they actually ended up making the product, and they sold it.
Yeah, listen to the fans. They will throw money at you.
The zipper for it, I remember, was shaped like a little tiny lightsaber.
Oh shit! Really?
Did random water balloons come out when you opened it up?
Oh, gross. Yeah, do we have any idea what that actually was, Ames? Was it actually water balloons?
Oh, I don't know. I don't do a ton of research on the movies just because it's scattered all over the internet and fuck that. Wikipedia is no memory alpha.
Yeah, well, Wikipedia is more dedicated to being like in universe, whereas memory alpha is more it's dedicated more to be like
fans being completionists.
Yeah, and it'll talk about stuff as it affects, there's a mix of here's how it works in universe and here's real world shit, whereas Wikipedia is mostly like, we're writing this like it's an encyclopedia for people in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and also on Memory Alpha, like, here's an exhaustive list of background props that you may have seen in other episodes.
Exactly,
yes.
They do that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to go back to Hamill's accident, because I didn't go far down this rabbit hole, but the comment that I read was, Lucas told Hamill that his character would have been replaced entirely if he had died from that accident.
Fuck.
So how bad was this accident?
Apparently not bad enough that Lucas wasn't willing to add a little extra trauma. Jesus.
Wow. So what would, I guess Leia would have taken over, huh?
I don't know.
I wonder
How
if that's
would
where
they
you
have
got the idea
explained that, though? It's like the hero of the rebellion who destroyed the Death Star and rescued Princess Leia, and he went back to his homeworld. His people needed him.
Well, I mean, the movie starts with Vader hunting them down. They could have just been like, Luke Skywalker was lost helping others escape or something, and
yeah, fan canon was not what it is now in the 70s.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a bummer as a viewer. Like, wow, he died off screen between movies. But that's probably how they would have handled it.
Mm.
And it still would have been better than anything they did in Episode 9.
You mean with Leia?
No, just anything, literally anything. That movie was fucking awful.
Oh,
I have a confession. I think. When I was a kid, I think I watched this movie for the first time when I was 8 with my dad. And there are a few shots in this movie where Darth is looking out the window, and they are zoomed in so that you can only see Darth and the field of space through the window. You see his helmet, and basically stars are behind it. So I thought, when I was a kid, from that Darth Vader was in a spaceship that was shaped like his helmet.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I
That
think
is,
that
I
would
love
be great.
that.
And and here's the real part. I started listening a few years ago to Star Wars Minute podcast, and they mention that one of them had two friends who thought the exact same thing.
Nice.
Whoa.
So I'm convinced there's a Mandela effect thing out there where a lot of us think that and you must admit, like, this would be a much worse movie if Darth just went around in a ship shaped like
It would
his
be
head.
a cartoon show.
That's
Worse?
like Megatron shit right there.
I mean,
You know.
in a way, it feels like something that should have been in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, instead of Mega Maid, they should have been going around in just an even bigger helmet.
I mean,
Oh,
to
God.
be fair, that is basically the plot of every Batman.
Sure.
Always
So
comes
it
back to
does
Batman
work.
eventually.
It does. I don't know why.
But speaking of Darth Vader's actual ship, that's a fucking ship.
Yeah.
Like that reveal when it's just, we're hearing the Imperial song for the first time, and you see the Star Destroyers, which, we already knew were big.
Yeah.
And I think in this movie they, made the models more detailed or something, or at least we got a lot more close-ups of the models.
Yeah.
And then you just see that shadow come in and just cover all of those Star Destroyers, and then you see just this fucking city-sized ship.
Yeah, that is... I was going to bring that up, too, because it's such a great way to, like... Because, I mean, the whole thing with the original movie is that's the opening, like, here's this little ship, and then here's this thing that doesn't feel like it's going to end, chasing it. So
Yeah.
in that movie, that's the giant thing that you're like, ooh. And then they're just like, oh, that's a little bitch.
There's always a bigger ship.
Yeah, like this is, forget this. Here comes this motherfucker. And like you said, Jake, the way they do it is so great because they don't just show it right away. They let there be a shadow. So you go like, wait a minute, but this is the baddest boy on the block. What's going on?
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, and that right there is again like just a sign of a better director.
Yeah. How do you like that set, too? Like the set where Darth Vader has the floor all to himself and everyone works below him in a trench.
He's got a literal bridge, basically.
He's got a bridge, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, it must suck to be the navigator, but...
But it sucks to be everyone.
Oh yeah.
You know, we should praise, I think, one of the secret weapons of this movie are the classy actors who play the henchmen for Vader, the crew of the Executor, because it is really they have a certain dignity to them, and it is really that which prevents this from being like Starscream, fighting with the Decepticons or something.
Yeah.
Like that moment when they lose Han and he says, I'm going to go apologize to Lord Vader. And like, you can tell everyone knows he's not coming back.
Yeah, no.
Does he know? Does that guy know he's off
he
to
knows.
death?
I think he knows.
Oh,
He
no.
knows how he
He
got his
knows.
job, so...
Vader's already iced like 2 people by the start
and
of
the
this
next
film.
guy that he fucking he immediately is like, okay, you're in charge now. That guy's like, fuck.
Well, yeah, the minute the captain left the ship, the first officer sighed and put on a captain's badge.
Oh, I think
I don't-
my favorite Vader moment. Okay, my 2 favorite Vader moments. One is when he's basically in a cup holder and he's about 3 inches tall and in somebody's little ship, and that's hilarious. But the moment everything has gone to shit and everyone and like the good guys have escaped. And Vader just looks around, like is standing stoically in the room. Everyone in the room is like, "We're all fucking dead. Oh no!" And he just like walks slowly out of the room. Is so tense and great.
Yeah.
He doesn't kill anyone, but it's the scariest part of the movie.
I'm gonna add in an honorable mention for the moment when Luke jumps off the platform and he's got his arm outstretched, and then when Luke jumps, he just kind of like drops it in this like I've never seen more emotion from a fully masked character because you can just tell the emotion there was like, really, really, you jump.
Prowse is emotive at strange times.
Mm.
Yeah, it's the dropping of that arm that
Yeah.
gets me every time.
Yeah, it's so, like, it seems un-Vader-like, and yet it works so
Well, because it's one of those things where he knew that he had won, that there was no way out for Luke at that point. Like he was going to win, and then Luke is like, he found the other way.
Yeah.
It must have been interesting to be a Star Wars fan in 1977 because so much of this stuff that we now know of canon is up for grabs. Like, kids at that time really spent a lot of time trying to figure out, like, people didn't even know who Darth Vader was. Like, some, you know, to listen to them talk about it, like, some kids thought he was a robot. Some kids thought that he was, like, a monster. And there's actually...
Both right, really.
It's true. Complicating the problem was, like, you know, Lucas got rich by holding on to the merchandising rights, of course.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff that they didn't prepare carefully and they just threw out. So there would be weird stuff like for example, I've heard there was a trading card somewhere which claims that Darth Vader is from a race of fish people that live underwater, and he needs to be in the suit because it keeps him fresh. Yeah, full of water.
It's a reverse scuba suit.
There you go.
Yeah.
George Lucas saw that and thought, well, no, but I'm going to steal that for the third movie.
Yeah, what I can't imagine, because we're too distant from it now, and that I think you go in knowing Darth Vader is Luke's father, but I can't imagine the people learning that in theaters.
Oh my god, I know. I every time something comes up that, like, you don't, like, the things that we know, like, as, like, we're born knowing it almost.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think. Like, imagine the first time you saw Luke get his arm chopped off, the first time you saw Yoda, and the first time, you heard that he's like, I'm your father. Oh god! You know.
It was like the, you know, the only comparable moment, I think, for people that were not around to experience it live was be like when we learned that Rey's father, Rey's grandfather, was actually the Emperor.
Son of a bitch.
Like, what a shocking twist.
Whoa.
Well, I know we've had her on the show before. Kelly, Justice's wife, was on the show before, and I know she specifically did not see the original trilogy until after all the prequels.
Wow.
And she prides herself on being as one of the first people to ever do this, because literally after watching the final of the prequels, which we'll be covering the next couple of weeks, she went and binged New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. And I think it was in, like, what's the third prequel? Revenge of the Sith?
Sith.
Yeah, I think it's in that one where she just, like, proclaims, like, oh, Luke and Leia are sister and brother. Because she wouldn't have known. And that, well, it's weird when people don't know the things that you think are just common knowledge.
Yep, which really makes the kiss on Hoth just...
Yeah, I was gonna say,
it's
especially weird when Luke and Leia don't know, because they fuck around. Yowza.
Oh, God.
Welcome to any old English novel.
Yeah.
And I think, I do kind of wonder, because they had that scene in there.
The kiss scene?
I don't think they would have had that in there if they had already planned for them to be siblings.
I think Lucas was already thinking about it, though.
Here's what I've read.
Definitely hinting.
The kiss was this movie, though.
Yeah.
Well, here's what
But he knows that they're brother and sister in this movie.
No, he knows in the next one.
I thought.
Who is the he in your sentence, Caitlin?
Oh, you're right. I was thinking Luke, because they're talking about there's another and all that shit.
No,
they
right.
only hint that Leia
has the Force.
Has the Force.
Yeah,
like, you know, they say there's another, and then they also have the scene at the end where she hears Luke.
Yeah, but that's at the very, very end.
That doesn't mean she's a Skywalker. It just means she has the Schwartz.
Now, here's what I've read a little bit about where Lucas had all this story, because he has. I know we questioned last week just how much of the trilogy was actually written when just New Hope came out, even though he claims that the whole thing was kind of in development at the time. But this movie, he claims he already knew Vader was going to be Luke's father in the first couple of drafts, even though it was not in there. So that's interesting. But basically, so he had, like, the outline, and he drafts Lee Brackett, who was a big sci-fi writer, and she wrote up a draft that wasn't great, and then immediately died of horrible cancer.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
So she's still credited in the movie, even though they didn't keep a lot of what she did, and then handed the rest over to Lawrence Kasdan, who was also working on the Indiana Jones screenplay. But here's what Brackett's script featured, which sounds like it would have been a very interesting movie. First of all, there would be a very distinct love triangle between Luke, Leia, and Han, and Leia would be way more damsel-y all movie long.
Ugh.
Yoda was originally named Minch.
Nope. Take that.
Luke had a hidden sister named Nelith, and was not Leia. Lando Calrissian was known as Lando Kadar. Luke's father was still not Darth Vader and was still another distinct character who would have appeared as a Force ghost on Dagobah. And Han, at the end, was going to leave in search for his uncle Owen Merrick, quote, the most powerful man in the universe after the Emperor.
What? Oh no!
Yeah, they were going to make Han like a snotty step kid. Like, I hate my dad, man.
Well, we keep saying there's only 2 families in the universe, so
Yes.
Yeah.
Dad, I need 15,000 credits to pay off Jabba the Hutt. Get a job.
It's interesting because in the books, he would get a shitty uncle named Thraken Sal Solo,
good name.
who was like a just complete scumbag. Like, Han's a lovable scumbag. This guy was just a scumbag with no redeeming qualities.
Scoundrel.
So
Scoundrel.
beyond scoundrel, just the worst.
No, I was just.
No, I know.
No, you see, it's a line in the movie.
No, I know.
But it's something that Han says.
So one thing that occurred to me that we didn't bring up last week was
Scruffy looking.
was one of the people that's really responsible for these movies succeeding is Ralph McQuarrie, who was the concept artist, who, like, apparently, he did some drawings and drafts based on early drafts of the script, and, like, these fantastic pieces that George brought to Fox was part of what convinced them to bankroll this thing. And, it had, like, the early C-3PO, which, 3PO obviously is inspired by the robot from Metropolis, but in the early drawings just straight up was the robot from Metropolis. R2 was a little shorter and had, like, an arm kind of just hanging off the side, like, hey!
Like just a human arm?
No, like a little crane arm almost.
I thought you were going to be like, in original concept drawings, R2 was a literal trash can.
There's, like, early versions of Cloud City showing stormtroopers with lightsabers. Like, originally everybody was going to have lightsabers.
Ooh.
Before they decided it was unique to the Jedi.
I want lightsabers.
And what's funny is that McQuarrie would later do work on Star Trek Phase 2. And his original design for which is funny, because I don't think he worked on Star Trek before, but before he came to the X-Wing, he designed the Y-Wing, which has very, like, Star Trek-looking nacelle engines. And then when he goes and works on Star Trek Phase 2, he designs the original idea for the refit Enterprise, which has the very triangular, Star Destroyer-shaped engineering hull that would later get recycled into the USS Discovery. So look at that. There's a Star Trek connection in the form of Ralph McQuarrie. His crazy, wonderful art. Like, there's so many collections of his art. You can buy his books, just find online. It's amazing stuff. It's really beautiful.
Well, the whole Lucasfilm universe was kind of the center of all this stuff in the 70s. One of my favorite kind of tidbits about this, this is when George Lucas was incorporating Lucasfilm and, like, moving to Northern California and claiming himself as an independent. But he was so up in this that a lot of his crew were working on the original Battlestar Galactica during the time that he was suing the original Battlestar Galactica for plagiarism.
Wow, that's something. Well, of course, I mean, a lot of the special effects for the TNG era movies would be done by Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
For all that the fans create this fake rivalry, like, they're hand in glove a lot.
They really are, and it's strange to look back, kind of, when I was always a Star Trek fan, and I was a little skeptical of Star Wars, because it had war in the title. Who likes war? It's not me.
What is it?
I guess I didn't think they spent enough time in space. I thought they were on planets too much. But who's to say?
When I was a kid, I would kind of go back and forth depending upon, like, basically whichever one I had experienced the most recently. I loved the X-Wing books in middle school.
I didn't see any Star Trek except for, like, the episode Trouble with Tribbles in my youth, and I loved Star Wars as a kid. I think partly because my uncle, I guess I can say it. They don't listen to this. My favorite uncle was only, like, 13 years older than me, so I kind of got to play with, like, all his fucking sweet, like, original Star Wars toys and shit. He had, like, a Tauntaun that you, like, pushed a little Luke into. It had, like, a little trapdoor on its back, so you could have Luke, like, riding the Tauntaun.
Nice.
Fucking awesome.
And another little trapdoor, you can shove him inside the belly.
Yep, that's right, to keep him alive.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, like, Star Wars was something I really liked. I was really into the Force. I think that's what I liked about Star Wars. Just the idea of the Force and things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we all want to be fucking magic, you know?
Yeah, right? Like wizard shit.
Yeah. And fucking swords made of lasers. Like, fuck, yes.
It's interesting about the Force, you know, I think I'm curious how the youngest people think about the prequels versus the original. Because, like, there's no doubt that the prequels sort of have better fights from a technical standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also airless, you know, it's like, you know, on this movie, they literally went to Norway. They went to Finsk, Norway.
Yep.
They went to a glacier.
And now you go to green screen land.
Yeah, they don't go anywhere.
Sad.
And, like, I really think the movie gains from, like, you know, Mark Hamill is literally trying to keep his shit together as he goes through, like, a 20-week boot camp to make this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, watching an old, back in the day, like, the Sci-Fi Channel would at least once a year do a weekend where they would just marathon the Star Wars movies and old, like, making of stuff from, like, some of it was contemporaneous. And, you know, they're talking about, like, camera equipment freezing and what a fucking nightmare it was.
Yeah, God.
But, you know, looks good on camera once you
Sure
thought.
does.
Oh, and of course, Battle of Hoth, featuring Julian Glover, one of my favorite character actors because he has tried to murder all of your heroes. Because he is the lead, like, tank commander of the Walker unit. He's the bad guy in Indiana Jones 3.
Mm.
He is a Bond villain. He's a Doctor Who villain.
And one of our favorite Doctor Who villains.
Yeah.
Well, or at least, I don't know if he's my favorite villain, but he's in one of my favorite classic Who episodes.
Yeah, like, and he shows up in Game of Thrones. He's still kicking. And he's just this wonderful
That's right,
character
I
actor.
Oh
forgot
yeah,
Game of
he's
Thrones.
he's that old man,
The
right?
Maester, the Meister, Hey Meester?
The
whatever.
bad guy.
But yeah, no, he has tried to kill pretty much everyone you ever loved as a child. And I like to point out that, as far as we know, he survives the Battle of Hoth. So he tries to kill, like, our Star Wars heroes and gets no comeuppance for it, unlike so many others.
Yeah. Speaking of the Battle of Hoth, I noticed, and I never picked up on this before. Actually, there's a couple things that I'd never picked up before on this movie. And I'll mention one of them first, which is when we first see C-3PO and R2-D2, they're bickering because apparently they turned on the heaters in Princess Leia's room on Hoth.
Yeah.
And melted the ice and soaked all of her clothes. And I
Yes.
never picked up on that detail before, but there's an argument happening between the androids.
Yep.
Wait, are you being serious right now?
No, it's
No,
a real
I'm
line.
actually absolutely serious. When we first see them, C-3PO is like, well, how did I know that we were not supposed to turn the heaters on? How are we going to get all of her clothes dry?
Yeah, it's a subtle thing. You have to kind of, like, work backwards. Like, wait, what are they talking about?
Like, I've seen this movie probably, you know, a dozen times over my life, and I never picked up on that argument.
Yep.
Oh, that's because when you're a dumb kid, you don't think of these things.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed that I don't think I noticed before is that when the Empire is talking about, you know, going to Hoth to fight the rebels, they mention that it's the 6th planet of the Hoth system. So this planet isn't
Actually,
Hoth.
Hoth.
That actually
yeah.
might be SETI Alpha
Yeah,
5.
this
Right.
is Hoth 6, right?
Yeah, watching the various things that happen on Hoth, I was reminded a whole lot to when we covered RoboCop, just in terms of large robot, like, construction things that you just tip over to show they're dead.
And amazing stop motion shit.
Yeah, like
the stop motion was so good.
Throwing ED 209 down the stairs, everything looks great falling over.
That's one thing, because again, I know we talked about this last week. You know, we're watching this on Disney Plus, so we've unfortunately got the special editions.
Oh, they're a sponsor.
But the good thing is they seem to have left the Battle of Hoth alone. Like, it seems to be all the original effects, including the one slightly awkward chicken walker in the background.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, so we actually watched half of the movie with the theatrical release, and then there was something wrong with the video file, so I had to get the special edition, which I also must have gotten the extra special edition, because let me tell you something. All right, well, first things first. Things about the Battle of Hoth. One thing I noticed about the Battle of Hoth is you used to be able to see through the speeders when they were showing clips from inside the speeder.
Oh yeah, I think they did fix that.
Oh, to do like the transparency kind of overlay thing.
Yeah, I think the problem was, so like if you ever watch this, ships in space, there's always in an old movie specifically where they're using mats, you can usually see the cutout.
Yeah.
For the transparency on the mat.
Yeah.
And I think, again, but against a dark background, it's not too bad. But I bet against a light background, that's really obvious. So I imagine that they did was probably just like didn't fully expose, or like they probably had to, like, I don't know. Basically, the point is, I think you would have gotten a really hard outline around the shape of the speeder if they had completely made it opaque.
Yeah.
So I think to fix that, they just made it a little less opaque and hope people wouldn't notice. That's my best guess. Either that or just they didn't have the technology.
Nice. Well, you were going to complain about our special version that we had to watch. Oh my
fucking Lord. Oh.
Poor Jake. He was very sad.
I was very sad because, again, this is a movie I really like. I have a lot of good memories about it. And, I had, I had the VHS copies, obviously, when I was a kid. Actually, they were like VCR recordings that we took, so that
like off of TV.
Yeah, they weren't even like
with commercials, with old commercials intact.
I don't think so.
Oh snap!
I think my dad was pretty good at editing.
I know,
those
right?
Out. And then I think I had the tapes of the special edition, and I didn't, and things just seemed out of place. So I eventually, when I was a little older, I managed to get a copy of the of DVDs that had been transferred from Laserdisc, because they had Laserdisc editions of these movies from the early 90s or late 80s or something, and somebody took them and transferred them to DVD in the early 2000s before you could actually buy that from Lucas. And I think now you can get, or at least there was one edition of Star Wars released where they also released the Laserdisc cut. But anyway, so that was the version I always watched. And so this was my first time seeing the special edition in many, many years. And I just got to say, there's so much garbage that they do that really pisses me off. Like the just out of place CG bits.
Oh, like, it's awful.
Like
it's almost unwatchable.
The fucking Falcon.
There's so much charm to lack of CG.
Yeah, like they have this long extended scene of the Falcon flying through Cloud City, and it's just like, we don't need that. And then I swear, and maybe I'm misremembering, but I think they took the windows out of Cloud City and replaced them with CG graphics of like shit happening outside.
They did,
They probably did.
They added windows where there hadn't been before, so you could see stuff happening. What had been a dead-end hallway was now just an open air thing, so you could, again, see... Like, I think the only reason they left Hoth basically alone was because they were spending all their time on CG-ifying Cloud City.
Yeah. But the thing that like really kind of irritated me is they replaced the voice of Boba Fett with the guy that plays him on Mandalorian.
Stupid.
And I'm like, what?
Well, to be fair, it wasn't. It was because he was him in the prequels, right?
Yeah.
but-
Obviously, it predates The Mandalorian is all I mean, but yes.
Well, yeah, but
yes,
yeah,
you're correct.
But
They're
yeah,
retconning
he
it.
did. That
Yeah.
guy didn't play Boba Fett in the prequels. He
Oh, well,
played a
wait till
different
they
character.
fucking chuck Hayden Christensen in as a fucking Force ghost. That pisses me off every fucking time.
But I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's really disrespectful to the actor, in my opinion. That
agreed.
and
that
the rest
guy
of us.
did the work. He showed up. He said the lines. He had a cool voice. It wasn't, Kiwi sounding, but
I don't know if he was the voice, but I know that the guy who was in the suit actually briefly appears as an Imperial officer. He's the blonde guy that Lando captures with his men.
Yeah. So the story there is they just didn't have enough guys around to get into that suit. And they're like, you're here, throw this on and restrain Leia.
Oh, well, at least he still
Amazing.
appears in the
Didn't know
movie.
Yeah, and this is part of the trouble with the special edition. I agree with you guys. I like these so much more as 70s movies ahead of their time than sort of contemporary movies with limited CGI. But that happened to so many people. I think another change they made, they took out the original Emperor.
Yeah.
Who was originally, I guess it was the special effects person's wife, and then they edited chimp eyes into her eyes.
It was creepy as
And
fuck.
Yeah.
creepy as fuck. And it was very different. McDermott does the sort of, stagey villain voice, but I almost don't know how to react to the original.
They
It
also
was like
altered,
it was a very cold.
They also altered the dialogue a little. I forget what it originally was, but they tweaked it a bit.
Right. Yeah, they draw out some stuff about. I think they add the Emperor saying, "Search your feelings," so that
Know them to be
know them
true.
to be true.
So that's a callback.
And that's a call
Or a
forward.
call forward.
It's like
yeah.
poetry.
Because
Right.
It's a poem.
Now,
Film
Jake,
poem.
did your version have the unnecessary scream as Luke plunged to his not death?
I don't think so.
Because that was something that was in, I think, at some point, maybe it was the original special editions. Because they actually, that's the thing, is we talk about the special editions, but he kept fucking with them for a while.
He needs to fucking
Yeah.
stop it. He needs to cut
Yeah.
his shit immediately.
One of the things he did was cut, he had added Luke going,
Oh, when he jumped.
Yes.
I mean,
he
that's what I would
realized-
do.
and he realized it just was incongruous as fuck and took it out later.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Luke is really good at landing on shit.
Barely
Yeah.
reacted when his fucking hand was cut off. You're gonna tell me he's gonna yell when he jumps, when he planned that fucking jump?
Mm.
Another bit of unnecessary fucking special edition bullshit. It goes back to what I said last week. Lucas thinks the audience is stupid.
Well, he's probably at least half right.
Where, they added in all this extra crap of, Vader, leaving Cloud City, prepare my shuttle, and showing it landing and this and that. It's like, we would have figured... when I was a child and watching the not fucked with editions, yeah, I worked out, while all this was going on, Vader probably went back to his ship. I wasn't going, how's he back on his ship?
And,
yeah, well, that's
know-
because we were already aware as entities with,
Object
with
permanence?
with fucking transportation in our lives.
See, here's the thing.
Holy
There-
shit, he got from one point to another?
There were 2 times in the movie when I actually stopped and was like, how did that get there? First, how did all those Imperial walkers get to Hoth?
That's a good question.
Because they
Very
just fucking
carefully.
show up and they're there and they're a threat all of a sudden when they move maybe 2 miles an hour.
Well, people don't realize this, but chickens aren't actually flightless birds.
Did they bring them there and then let them off a ship? Where's this ship? Why didn't they
guessing
just
there's some
use
kind
that?
of
Did they build
landing
them in
craft?
place?
No, they have
Actually,
to be
isn't-
some kind of landing craft. Or maybe
isn't
they
that what
themselves
they-
can fly down.
Isn't that what they steal in Solo? Isn't it a Walker carrier or something?
Goodness, I don't remember.
I don't know. Because I
almost just
assume
made
that
the
those
same Walker
are
Texas Ranger joke again. Fuck.
that
You get
those
one.
are basically just
I know.
troop transports, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
But then again, they're so fucking impractical. It's just it's one of those things where you have to have suspension of disbelief about the walkers.
Whenever you get control over one of them in, what is it, Battlefront? That video game we were playing, Jake?
Yeah.
You're just automatically screwed because there's no way to control this fucking thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
And
the
my
walkers
other
are ridiculous.
And my other question is, so we get out of the asteroid field, suddenly there's a Star Destroyer on our tail. What? I thought we were in the asteroid field to get rid of these guys. Where did this guy come from?
He'd been sent in by Lord Vader.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Killing.
Well, yeah, he actually does, like, give them shit. But meanwhile, he's like, I have to make a collect call to the Emperor, so we should get out of this asteroid field. Pussy.
One of the best bits is when they cut to the fleet and you see an asteroid take out the bridge of one of the Star Destroyers. And you cut to Vader talking to several captains as holograms, and you see one of them, like, turn and go, ah! And then he flickers out of existence.
That's a
nice touch.
That's a great moment.
Like, that's great. That was a director that wasn't George fucking, I think the audience needs to see everything Lucas.
I mean, again,
Speaking
fans are
of, just
probably
going quickly
idiots.
back to the unnecessary Vader leaving Cloud City bit, I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that one of the scene when he lands on the Star Destroyer and it shows him leaving his shuttle,
That is from Jedi.
that's just a clip from Return of the Jedi. Okay,
You can
that's
see
what I
the
thought.
guy.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can see the
it's-
guy saying it, and they just cut it. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah, it's like, wow, so this wasn't only not necessary, it's extra distracting because I'm going, that's just footage from Jedi. Thanks, George, you fucking idiot.
That is like a Star Trek move. That's like a retro Star Trek move.
That's
We're
true.
having, like the same.
It's that guy waving again and doing
Yeah.
backflips on top of the
And
ship
that
or whatever.
same
And then
fucking
blowing
bird of
up-
prey
yeah,
yeah,
blowing up
the
the
bird of
Klingon
prey
ship.
blowing up and the guy getting blown out of the bird of prey. But now we've done it through time. We've gone to a movie that's 3 years older and put in a future exploding bird of prey.
And it's like, with all the fucking money they spent on this, they couldn't have erased that guy at least.
No.
Like, that's the thing he thought we wouldn't notice, the fucking buffoon.
Well, this is kind of what fascinates me about George Lucas, because he is, to say the least, he is clearly a advocate of digital film, and it seems like very little else.
Yeah.
Because I always get the sense that all these changes he makes are there 90% to help the industry develop digital video. Like, I'm sure that part of what made, Lord of the Rings classic were developed on these 900 re-edits of Star Wars. Like, there's just this certain type of director who gets into the tech visuals and nothing else, He's like that. Robert Zemeckis was like that. Ang Lee is kind of doing that now with the weird high frame rate thing that makes my head
not
spin.
him too.
But like these directors just they wave that as their torch. They're like, it is my job. I have the privilege and the responsibility of creating this new frontier of film.
Zemeckis is such a depressing fall from grace.
I know, yeah.
Like, he
God.
made some truly wonderful movies, and then he became everything's gonna be terrifying, waxy, mocap, CG movies.
Yeah.
Oof.
Can I bring us back to Star Wars?
Yes,
Star
yes,
Wars.
Sorry,
All right,
Star
one
Wars.
One thing I want to touch upon, because I feel like in the current climate, I don't know how I feel about this anymore, because it used to be like the most romantic thing. Oh, Han and Leia, and they're in love, and it's so cute, and they do their cute little flirty thing. And is it, though?
No.
I don't
Not
think so
really.
anymore.
No.
He's
no.
just really pushy.
Like, it kind of
Yes.
becomes toxic after a bit.
Kinda.
And we
yeah.
don't know how long exactly they're stuck on the Falcon together.
Mm.
Because that's the thing with this movie. The timeline is potentially way longer than you realize. Because the Falcon's working at sublight the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, he said Lando was nearby, but he doesn't have a working hyperdrive. They could have been flying there for weeks or months.
Well, how long was Luke on Dagobah?
They don't say.
Aha, interesting.
yeah, I mean,
It's-
he had to have been there for a while, though.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing that is kind of not obvious about this film, but that people, I think, I'm sure some nerds have tried to work it out exactly, but there is a very good chance that they were just stuck on this ship developing Stockholm Syndrome for God knows how long, with only one set of clothes. It's amazing, like, that Lando didn't
One
pass
bathroom.
out from the stench when,
Yeah.
Tanya! Oh, my... Oh, the Wookiee smells better!
I thought these things smelled horrible on the inside.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, no, there's nothing charming about their romance.
And it's
I'm
pretty clear they bang at some point in Cloud City, because then they're just
yeah.
all over each other, and it's like, too much.
Yeah.
The stuff I like personally in their relationship is like the bickering, the like, should I get out and push?
Oh, yeah.
It might help.
Oh yeah, some of the dialogue is still.
Yeah,
Like
the dialogue is quite good.
Yeah, I certainly don't like it when Han reminds me of like. In high school, I was friends with some girls who had like annoying boyfriends, and like they would like jump your annoying boyfriend who like jumps on the couch all the time and quotes South Park all the time, and at a certain point you just want to say, "Stop it! She likes you. Stop trying." But they would not. But I agree. I certainly don't like it when he corners her.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
especially when she's trying to loosen up that piece, and like he's just like all up in her, and
he starts
but you like
massaging
bad
her.
men. You love bad men, don't you? And she's like, stop, and he's like, nope.
No, I'm telling you, you like bad men.
Yeah, no. That's it. I think I said too. It's like one of these things, signs of growing up and maturing. It's like when you're a kid, you think Han is cool. He's got his ship, and he's a
great vest.
Smuggler. He's got all this, and then you grow up and you mature and you realize Luke's the better character.
And I think one thing I do like about how they do it is it kind of makes the Han and Leia's fate in Episode 7 make more sense.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, in retrospect, you're like, yeah, no, this was never going to work.
And it really broke a lot of people's hearts when they hear that. But I think it's a good decision. Yeah, absolutely.
They weren't going to stay together for that kid. That kid sucked.
Yes. He was the worst.
Well, and people don't stay together even if their kid is the best kid, so.
Yeah, and when your kid turns out to be Neo Space Hitler, it's like, well, we fucked up.
I think the other problem is, you have all seen on Star Trek, like just how bad sort of nerds of this era are at writing romances. And
Geordie,
Star Wars
anyone?
is sadly, I read the J.W. Rinsler book about the making of this movie, and I Love You, I Know was made up on the set. Mm-hmm. Do you all know what the original lines were?
I love you too.
More than that.
You look like a scruffy-headed nerf herder.
Leia, I love you. I couldn't tell you before, but it's true.
Oh, too much
Han,
already.
Just remember that, because I'll be back. And he's frozen in carbonite at that point.
Oh, that's terrible.
So, yeah.
That's real bad.
So when I feel like there's Lucas bad dialogue, and then in this, of course it was given to Lawrence Kasdan, and then you have to get another step up from that, because basically Ford and Irving Kershner, the director, worked it out on the day to do that. And thank God.
Yeah, it's
Less is
a
more.
lot better.
That's the thing about, I think, there are times where I look at, like, movies and then I realize, like, in this whole long scene, you guys have said, like, 3 lines of dialogue. And the rest has been, like, just setting the scene and being characters and doing the thing. Like, less is more. You don't need a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Which, again, not the Lucas ethos, especially when he's got all the CG in the world and all the money and no one stopping him in the prequels.
Yeah.
So in this film, we get sort of our first, I think, what we would think of as lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
It's still not like the fucking ridiculous acrobatics that we get
Acrobatics,
in the CG.
you say?
Yes, in the CG era. But it's
you do get a flippy bit from Luke.
You get a flippy bit. There's some acrobatics. One thing that strikes me though about this fight is this is like, Luke thinks that he is King Jedi, that he is like the top dog.
He trained with Yoda.
He trained with Yoda for like a week, a whole fucking week. He took the fucking, 2-week intensive with Yoda, and he shows up and he's going to fight Darth Vader, and Darth Vader doesn't actually want to kill him.
Yeah, no, he's holding back the whole time.
And like, I also just think he's just fucking with him too.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He'd rather freeze him in carbonite.
Yeah, but he could literally pick him up with the Force and put him into the carbonite
That's
machine if
true.
he really wanted
Luke couldn't
to.
fight back. He doesn't have that power yet.
I think that's actually not that exactly, but I think one of the Robot Chicken sketches that they did with Star Wars was Luke jumps, like you said, Jake. But instead of going, Vader just uses the Force. It's like, oh no, you don't.
Yeah.
Luke's like, let me go! You're coming with me.
Yeah, typical Luke, blindly winging rescue attempts. I loved it because, Leia tells him like 15 times, it's a trap. Don't go in there. You moron, don't go in there. Don't rescue me. It's not you. I'll be fine. And he's like, aha, but if I know it's a trap, does it still count as a trap?
Oh, thank you,
Luke, no.
Lito.
I think there's also a question here, and maybe I'm thinking too much into this movie.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah, exactly. So ostensibly Vader's plan was to get Luke into the carbonite machine, freeze him up, and then take him as a popsicle to the Emperor. Like, that's what he claimed his plan was. But then he improvises and is like, oh, I'll tell him that I'm his dad, and I'll try to get him to join me. Hey, why don't we also kill the Emperor while we're at it? Like, he comes with this whole new thing, and I kind of wonder if that wasn't like actually his plan all along.
It probably was.
Like, if the little fight was more of a test to see, like, hey, is he actually?
Is there potential here?
Is there potential? And the fact that he, manages to escape the carbonite machine is evidence enough that he's good enough to be his apprentice and take out the Emperor together, which I think is.
Yeah, that's definitely a Sith way to think.
Yeah, they're often like working to take out their
it's
masters.
like, I'll try to kill you. If I can't kill you, I'll try to get you to join me, and we'll kill my boss.
Yeah.
That's basically how all of the Sith work in all of the movies.
And they all have secret apprentices that they're not supposed to have, because there's only supposed to be 2 of them.
Who's gonna stop them? Me.
There we go.
Oh, poor Leia for the second half of the movie. She was in her snow gear for the first half, and then she got a nice dress very briefly, and then they stuck her in a white onesie for the rest of the movie, and I was very sad on her behalf.
I think the onesie was the base of her snow gear. Just
Why did she change back?
The Empire is no nice dress for you. Back in the stinky onesie.
Well, they did laundry at Cloud City.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it came out of the dryer. She after the whole ice melting incident.
Love that a blaster bolt to the chest just like caused 3PO to fucking explode. Like, it didn't just cause him to get a big hole in his chest and he goes down. Like, his arm somehow ripped in half. Like, his head popped off like one of those crash test dummy toys.
I mean, practically the same thing happened in the last movie when he fell down.
But see, with that, an arm broke off at the joint, so that makes a little more sense. Like, in this one, he got shot in the chest, and, like, somewhere mid-upper arm, it just cracked. It's like, what? Who built you? Oh, right.
Some dick. R2.
I like how he met another droid that looked like him, and that droid was
better.
rude.
Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, droid just like, fuck you.
I like remembering.
He told him to eat shit, didn't he? Say,
Yeah, it sounds like eat
something?
shit.
Ichuta.
That's it.
Eat shit, asshole.
What were you saying, Carl?
Oh, the stuff with R2 falling apart is kind of like, I feel like that's another thing that's been expanded in the special edition, and I kind of wish they would stop doing that.
I don't know, I feel like that's always how it was. I might be misremembering, but
it's interesting. I've heard 2 things. I heard Irvin Kershner didn't like C-3PO.
No one likes C-3PO.
But Anthony Daniels claimed that Irvin Kershner liked C-3PO and gave him so much screen time that Daniels felt it was too much exposure for the character. So either Irvin Kershner is a masochist, or he just really likes C-3PO.
That's the thing. If you really hate C-3PO, put in a lot of C-3PO, because then everyone's gonna hate C-3PO.
I see.
Point.
Oh,
Plus, he spends
it's
a lot of his time blown to shit.
yeah, true.
Speaking of 3PO units, I never noticed this before, but there's I've always noticed that in Hoth, there's a white 3PO unit as part of the, like, rebel crew. But what I didn't notice until this time was that it had 2 little red pips painted on it, which means it seems they actually made that one an officer? Whereas, like, 3PO is just an indentured servant.
Oh, interesting.
Amuses me, like, hey, 3PO, we pay this one. Fuck you. Unfortunately, it dies. You can see it, like, eyes are turned off and shit.
I mean, as we see, though, like, you can pretty much completely destroy one of these things and then put it back together when you're in prison and don't have any tools and you have giant monster hands.
My God, the scene in which those little creature things are basically playing keep away with pieces of 3PO against Chewie. I don't know what it's doing in this movie. It's entirely out of place and like very fillery, but it's still hilarious.
Now, are those supposed to be the same things from the Mandalorian that the friend?
Nuts.
Okay, because in this one they didn't seem to have speech; they just kind of went.
Yeah, it's their native tongue. They use it with each other and such.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Caitlin says. Like, oh god, the next time they fuck with this, they're gonna add Queel in that scene.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did say that because it's like I for the first time in my life I noticed what those guys were doing in there, and I was like, oh shit, it's the little pig monsters like Queel, and I was like, oh damn it.
What's it? And his catchphrase is
I have spoken.
I have spoken. Yeah, that's instead of going. We go. I have spoken. I have spoken. I have spoken. I have spoken.
Oh, I hate it. Like some kind of horrible Pokemon.
Speaking of Mandalorian, so who's more of a just little brat, Yoda or Grogu?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Yoda or Luke.
Grogu or old Grogu?
Do you know, I actually told some girls at work that Baby Yoda isn't actually Baby Yoda, and I blew their fucking mind. They're
Did
like,
they not
watch?
Oh, they don't know.
Have they not watched the show? Did they just see the
didn't.
merchandise in
Probably
stores?
not. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, they haven't seen it. They just thought. But even then, like, you know, before we were watching it, I think it was known that it wasn't actually.
Yeah, because the timeline doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it takes place.
Yeah,
after
I don't know.
Jedi.
I was still going with it was like a clone that the Emperor made.
Luckily, no.
Well,
Maybe.
still could be.
Oh god.
No, because they gave him a name.
Just because he has a name doesn't mean.
I will say this is my first time watching Empire in a while, and I forgot how much I missed Muppet Yoda.
Yes. This is definitely the best Yoda, in my opinion.
Yeah, because, like,
he's so dull in the prequels.
well, and even when he was a puppet in Episode 1, like, he was shit. He was, like,
I don't think
a fan-made thing, practically.
Yeah, I
And
actually have like the website open right now that just says what the whole team was for each movie, because some of them overlap various movies.
Yeah.
Of who was responsible for Yoda, because it was a team fucking effort. Like, I guess, you know, I'm sure Frank Oz gets most of the credit because he does most of the puppeting and also does the voice, because even though Lucas didn't want to use Frank Oz's voice, they just couldn't find a good way, or they couldn't think of a way that someone not puppeting it could have the voice sync up with the way that it was like talking. But just like the team that makes this guy happen is nuts, because they, and I'm going to say more next week because I have more stuff on Slug thing. God damn it. Jabba. I have more info on Jabba of just what it takes to make a Jabba, which is a lot. But just Yoda, like, I'm watching him, like, his eyes move, his eyebrows move, his ears move, his mouth moves, he walks and like I know I wrote it down. What's his name? It's gone now.
Yoda. His name's Yoda.
His name is Yoda. Deep Roy. Deep Roy does the walking when Yoda has to walk a couple of times.
Oh, really? Wow. I didn't even realize he was in movies about that long ago.
He's actually, he is another one. He did work in early Doctor Who even.
Wow. The Yoda's voice always abuses me because I can't hear Yoda and not hear Miss Piggy.
Yeah, it's Miss Piggy with a cold, for sure.
You know, so it's
I
like...
said the same thing when I was watching it.
You know what's
Like-
funny, though? Talking about how they couldn't figure out how to make someone who wasn't the puppeteer voice it. Frank was clearly sitting there keeping mum, because the Muppets had done that multiple times already.
Mm.
In fact, this would be later, but even before that, but I mean, the Dark Crystal, I don't think neither of the Gelflings, at the very least, were voiced by their puppeteers. Those were dubbed later. But even though, again, early Muppet sketches, before they decided on Miss Piggy's voice, she had, several distinct voices in the first season of The Muppet Show.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so they were used to dubbing later, so clearly he was just like, oh yeah, George, geez, I know, I wish I could help.
He just really wanted this fucking Jedi Master, ancient wisdom warrior
Backwards
man
talking.
to be Miss Piggy. He just wanted to do Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
Now, I hear Grover more than Miss Piggy personally.
Excellent. Also a good choice.
But what's fascinating is, I don't even think about this while he's on. Something about, he slows it up just enough or something that there's gravity there.
Yeah.
And it's such, I normally don't like things in movies about how great the Force is or quasi-mystical stuff. But he for whatever reason, I feel like if I disappointed Yoda, I would feel bad. He would make me feel guilty. He is just that kind of teacher, like a crusty uncle Jedi Master.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the performance, the believability they inject into the puppet, and Williams' score.
Yes.
He really does some really good work here.
I think something also, about Yoda that struck me about this movie is he does the backwards speech a bit, but
not consistently.
And in when they bring him back for the prequels, literally every sentence is reversed. It's switched up.
Yeah.
So
Around the defenses of perimeter create.
Yeah, like in this movie, he says when Luke's like, "I'm not scared," you should be or you will be. It's not be you will.
Yeah,
so
it's perfect.
They totally Flanderized the fucking shit out of Yoda in those movies. Where they didn't understand the character, and they're like, well, what are things we know about Yoda? Well, he's really wise. He's really old. Oh, and when he speaks, he does this weird thing.
Oh, and he does backflips now.
And what's sad is, again, this was 100% Lucas writing this at this point.
Yeah.
If anyone should get Yoda...
Well, then again, he didn't write the Yoda in this movie either, though.
That's true.
But yeah,
this
I feel like we're doing
Kazan.
a lot of shitting on the prequels, and we haven't even gotten there.
I can't wait.
Later. Another Yoda fact. It's not a Yoda fact. I just felt like saying Yoda fact.
Corner.
Yoda fact.
Something that because everyone
Yoda
always talks
man
about how
now,
the big twist of this movie is that Darth Vader's Luke's father. But
Wait,
I
what?
also think,
Go on.
I also think that I think the fact that Yoda is Yoda is a pretty significant twist in the movie.
Yeah, because you think he's just a senile nutcase who lives in a swamp and is a jerk.
We encounter this, and if this were a fantasy movie, I mean, it is a fantasy movie, but if it was oh, we're off to find the dragon's lair, the character that Luke meets, the little goofy thing that's trying to steal his food and fight with R2-D2 is
takes R2 apart.
Is the little wood nymph that is mischievous but really wants to help, and he's the guy that actually does lead you to the wizard.
Yeah,
but in this movie, he is the wizard. Yeah, and I think the fact when you realize that this little goofy thing that's been being a pest.
It's how you lay low. He doesn't want just any old asshole coming in and bothering him. He's a fucking Jedi.
Well, I'm also assuming that he doesn't get a lot of visitors.
Probably not. I mean, he'd have to call in a plasterer to help him build his hut.
No, he just assembled it with the Force.
Force hut.
It's interesting because that makes me think, I won't go on about this, but...
Promise?
one of the last, I think, truly great things Lucas did was Willow. And if you've never seen it, it's a fantasy movie that I think similarly subverts a lot of expectation. And is very worth watching.
No, is that the one with Warwick Davis?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't
I've
seen
never
it. I'd
seen
like
it.
to, because I do. Jake and I recently, and we'll talk about this next week too. We watched his mockumentary series, Life's So Short, which is delightful.
Nice.
Just how much he gets like trounced on. It's very him, and I enjoy it. And yeah, he brings up Willow a lot. He brings up his character that we'll see next week a lot. It's very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Willow it's actually on Disney Plus.
Oh, neat.
It's really good. It does things that are surprising, at least to me. And also, holy shit, Peter Jackson clearly loves that movie, because there's a lot of aesthetic similarities between Willow and Lord of the Rings.
Did they have any of the aesthetics designers overlap?
I have no idea.
Like, I feel like you give too much credit to the directors when there are other directors on movies.
No, I know, but he did. I mean, I do know that he was very involved with a lot of that film, like its look and feel and how it all worked. He had a lot more involvement than some directors might have.
This is a little known fact about Lord of the
Oh,
Rings.
damn it. We're on Lord of the Rings now?
It's actually
Son of a bitch.
based on a book.
What?
Actually, a trilogy of books, also
What?
called The Lord of the Rings.
Holy shit.
Actually, as
Coincidence.
far as Tolkien is concerned, it was one book. His publishers made him break it into 3 to make it more marketable.
Oh, so you've heard of it.
Unfortunately, it's a great cure for insomnia.
Yeah.
I've
You
tried
know,
so many times. The movies are way
Tolkien's not
better.
much of a writer for someone heralded for being such a great writer.
He's a world builder more than a writer, I
he
feel.
built
Kind of
he
like
built cool
George.
worlds.
Hey, speaking of George, he did this movie. Let's talk about this movie some more. You know
That's
what we
it?
what we
George
haven't
Star
talked about
Wars.
yet?
Ben Burt.
Lando Calrissian.
Oh, yeah.
Nailed it.
Lando Lakes.
Lando Calrissian and his wonderful, wonderful cape.
Yeah.
He does have a
I
great
I like him and Han.
Yeah.
They're both the same type of person, but like you can tell
Scoundrel.
Lando is Han is facing more scoundrel word, and Lando is facing more cape word.
Well,
And
it's like
yeah,
it's like Han says. He's actually like been running this not quite legitimate business legitimately for a while, and he's kind of started to grow up.
He introduces himself as the administrator of this, like,
of
place.
this facility.
Yeah, it's like, administrator. I've been an administrator lots of times. Never any place as cool as Cloud City.
Yeah,
I say.
but yeah. I mean,
you
he's
should
running.
apply.
He seems to run like everything. You know, it's like he runs the city. He runs the mining thing. You know, he has his like, code where he can just be like, "Hi, everybody, it's Lando." How many times do you think he abused that before
Daily.
that moment?
And what does he expect is going to happen when he tells the entire city, "Hey, stormtroopers, you might want to evacuate"? Fucking chaos!
I mean, that
That's
was
probably
probably
okay,
his,
though.
Yeah, that was kind of what he, I think, wanted. It helped distract from their own attempts to rescue Han and escape.
Yeah.
A lot of people got crushed that day.
Oh, so many. So many.
Does he own Cloud City? Is Cloud City just like his personal property?
I think so. I think he's like
Mhm.
Burgermeister Meisterburger of Cloud City.
Yeah, but Burgermeister
Burger.
Meisterburger doesn't own Sombertown.
Well, he's the
the
unquestioned
mayor or
ruler, though.
something. No, he's like the mayor.
Yeah, and he can pass any decree he wants
In fact,
without
he's the
anyone stopping him.
Burgermeister.
This from
which makes him the master of the
SpongeBob
burgers.
SquarePants?
It's
It's from fucking Santa Claus is coming to
Oh,
town. I have
no.
no idea why the fuck Chris is talking about that shit. It's not even October.
I think Han says that Lando conned it off of somebody.
Someone, yeah.
So I think he does own it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
That's
would
a
have been
pretty
great if you had
big piece of
continued that
property.
and been like, yeah, I think Lando says something about it. Never mind. I can't. I can't
Oh no,
even
we've
think
broken
herself up.
Caitlin.
Abort a
Caitlin broke
joke.
herself this time.
Saying it's
The
a
Empire's
difficult
taken control of the joke.
responsibility to
Self-sealing stem bolts.
Oh, no.
oh god, everything. Sorry, please remove all of
I wonder if
this.
he ever gets it back, like, or if it's just gone now. Because I'd be pretty pissed.
I'm curious what happens to Lando after the sequel. Because he's not in the sequel trilogy very much.
He
shows
lives
up
in like
at
a
the
hippie
end.
bus.
Yeah. But I'm interested in what that guy is up to.
Fucking robots somewhere, if
Yeah.
the Solo movie is to be believed.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed when Chewbacca is choking him with rage, and then Lando goes, "There's still a chance to save Han." And you know that it's that scene which allows for that scene in Solo where they're like, "Hi, my name is Han." "No, Han. No, I'm gonna call you Han."
Oh.
Well,
True.
no. I mean, the thing is, nobody has ever agreed on Star Wars what anybody's name is pronounced.
I know.
Because we have Han and Han,
Leah.
and we have Leia and Leah, and
Yes.
we had both in this movie. It
Yep.
started out somebody referred to her as Leah,
Yep.
and then later in the movie someone said Leia, and there was never any indication where it changed. In the previous movie, she was just Leah, so this is apparently where Leia starts.
Yeah. And of course, sometimes it's Luke, sometimes it's Luke.
Sometimes it's Lucas. Oh no, cross that out. That wasn't intentional.
Meh.
Ah.
I mean, Darth Vader's old first name used to be Darth.
Yep.
That changes eventually.
His title.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I mean, Lando, you can't blame Lando.
No, he's
if Darth Vader
he's straight
showed
up
up-
about it.
Yeah.
Vader shows up and is like, "Hi." You go, "Whatever the fuck you want, you terrifying wizard."
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
I
Vader's
think
clearly
it's impressive
failed
that he
upward.
turns so quickly. Of course, kids, I think kids judge Lando more harshly.
Yeah.
But adults,
They-
we
yeah.
kind of know. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard,
It's
hard
also
to do this.
I wouldn't have the fucking backbone to stand up to Vader.
Yeah.
Gotta give Han credit for just straight up trying to shoot him.
I mean,
Yeah,
Imagine
that-
if that
like,
had worked.
what
How
else are you going to do at
anticlimactic-
that point?
How anticlimactic would that have been for everybody? It's like, poof, he goes down, and we're just like, oh, fuck, it worked.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Like, even the stormtroopers are like, wait, we could have just shot the asshole! You know how many of my friends he's killed?
Oh,
Boba Fett comes out like,
Do I still get paid?
which voice do I have?
Do I still get paid, mate?
Crikey. Oh, no. Yeah, kill me, boss.
Yeah, I mean, that scene's interesting, right? Because he shoots at Vader. Vader stops the bullet and steals his gun, invites them to dinner,
Yeah.
and then they all go in the room like they're going to sit down for dinner. And there's a fully set table. So
Yeah.
I can only assume that there is a deleted scene where they're just very awkwardly eating, and like Darth Vader just has like a straw going into like the vent on the front of his mask,
Yeah,
and
he's
it's
got
going
like a
down to like a bowl
pureed
of
sandwich.
I want my sippy cup.
Emergency induction port. And like Boba Fett can take his helmet off but doesn't want to, so you just see him awkwardly like trying to shove food into his mouth from below, like son of a bitch.
soup. Yeah, it's interesting how much Boba Fett became a thing.
I was thinking that, it's...
He's got a jetpack. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's like the Rocketeer.
But not as handsome.
Well, this ties a little bit into the movie financing, too, because Lucas was an independent at this time. He had all the toy sales to keep this movie afloat, and it went way over budget. So when you see that scene where Vader's talking to bounty hunters, and there's like a giant lizard bounty hunter, and there's like just a guy, Bosk, Forlom, Dengar. I don't remember the rest of their
the
names.
The guy from the
IG-88.
robot from
IG-88, yeah.
the robot from Mandalorians.
But they're in there for less than 60 seconds, and they're in there basically so he can make toys of them.
And we know most of their names at this
And
point.
and
'Cause they're in
people
video
would
games.
write, video games, expanded universe. So he's paying the piper to a degree with
Yeah.
scenes like that. But
like,
Boba
of
Fett,
Boba Fett's very perplexing.
yeah, and he is. I don't think I even knew who he was when I saw this movie the first few times. Like, oh, that's Boba Fett?
Well, they don't
Yeah,
even
he
say
doesn't
his name
do anything.
No.
until the second one. He's just the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He gets his name in Jedi.
I mean, now that he has a New Zealand accent, he's probably a lot more memorable, but not in the old days.
No.
Yeah, but I still feel like of all the characters in this film, he's got. I think this is the end of his lines. Does he have any lines in Return of the Jedi? I don't know that he does.
I don't think so. I think he just hangs around.
He barely had lines in this
Boba.
movie.
Yeah.
I know he had like 3 lines, and
Doesn't he get sarlacked? I mean,
Yeah.
he gets sarlacked, gets made a bitch.
Gets better. Yeah, no, it's like Abe said, less is more. And it was just this intriguing guy in this groovy suit. And people are like, who was that? I want to know more about the Helmet Man. And, well, also,
I want the action figure.
I do want
to an
the action
extent,
figure.
some people had already met him. Because, of course, he famously
Star
premiered
Wars.
in the
Christmas
holiday special Kate was talking
Oh,
about.
Right.
Star Wars.
The Christmas
really?
special is what I meant to say. What a fucking
There was
idiot.
the one.
My brain is dead.
There's-
Oh,
Yeah, it's
There's
okay.
an animated short that was part of the holiday special, which I think actually they don't have the holiday special on Disney Plus, but I think they took out just the short, so you can watch just the short if you want.
Now,
And that formally introduced Boba Fett.
so there's a mention near the top of the film where Han Solo talks about having run into a bounty hunter. Is that a reference to that cartoon?
I don't remember, but it is, I
that's
think, supposed to
interesting.
be Boba Fett at the very least.
how many
Yeah,
people watch this cartoon?
I mean, everybody back then probably.
It was, before it became a laughingstock, when everyone saw it, it was a big deal. It was like, oh shit,
When everyone
it's-
saw it.
it's a Star Wars
Between
thing.
it happening and people seeing it, it was a big deal.
Well, people were probably really excited, It's like, we know there's going to be a new movie, but like, oh shit, we're going to get a TV thing? And, oh, this is going to be great. And everyone sat down and watched it and went, what the fuck? But yeah, the really the most famous thing about it, aside from its horribleness, is the short that introduces Boba Fett.
Interesting.
Although he had been featured once before at some fucking state fair. Like, Lucasfilm sent some people in costumes, and someone showed up in an early all-white version of Boba Fett's armor.
Mm.
So that was a very niche audience right there. They have, of course, since made
The
an
State
action
Fair.
figure of the State Fair Boba Fett that you can buy.
Hmm.
And I think Boba Fett's armor actually was based on an early version of Stormtrooper armor, but don't quote me on that.
I can see that.
Makes sense.
Oh, I did mention earlier briefly, Ben Burt is another person who really is very responsible for the world of Star Wars. Macquarie came up with a lot of the look. Ben Burt was their Foley guy, who actually, I think, worked on all the prequels as well. I don't know if he worked on the sequels. He's worked on WALL-E. He's worked on a ton of things. And one thing that throughout the years remained practical and sane was the Foley stuff. And whenever you get, like, you ever want to sit down and watch any special feature things, like, the stuff about the sound effects is always fascinating. The blaster bolts are... He basically took a mic out into the field, found one of those, like, wires that helps hold up power lines. Cables, fucking... What's the word?
Telephone
poles.
Telephone poles?
Like telephone poles. You found, like, one of those cables that helps kind of brace it.
Guy
He just-
wire.
Thank you, yes. And he kept tapping that wire with, like, a wrench or something until he got the sound he wanted. Like, he recorded it, and I think, sped it up a little as that, but, like, everything was a practical thing. The walkers are an industrial paper cutter.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And even in the prequels, where so much was going digital, he was going out in the real world with a microphone and recording real sounds. Like, even some of the stuff that you think must be just some computer garbage. No, he, like, found weird airplanes and automobiles to get these strange engine noises for the pod race scene and stuff. And he's really, if you're anyone who is at all interested in the world of sound effects, Ben Burt is amazing.
Yeah, he's a visionary.
Yeah, and like you wouldn't, it wouldn't sound. The whole soundscape of Star Wars is basically completely him.
What's
And
the
I
sound
remember-
the TIE fighters make? You know the sound I mean.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
Oh.
I will look it up and find out for you, though. What were we saying, Carl?
You know who else is great in the Star Wars crew? And this is another thing that sucks about the special editions. All 3 of these movies were edited by Marcia Lucas, but you wouldn't know that because her name was taken off in the special editions and replaced with
Lucas?
the guy who edited the special editions. But these are her choices and her cuts, and she is, I think
only reason it's a good fucking movie.
Exactly. I mean, you can just compare this to a prequel to show what kinetic editing does, and it's one of the many things. I think that's a huge downside. Like, there are people who worked on Star Wars who went in to see the special editions to find that their contributions were erased.
Yeah.
And in Marcia Lucas's case, she won an Emmy for editing Star Wars.
Well,
And her credit is not there.
That's fucked.
And that's wrong.
That's really fucked.
That's just petty.
Why were they divorced when this happened?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Oh, what a
years
fucking
ago.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Fuck you, George Lucas. Eat a bag of dicks.
And I wonder, like, if it's a technicality, because I think for the special editions, they actually did go back to the camera negatives and recut. So it's probably based on, like some kind of technicality.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a out of date rule for this that doesn't. I'm sure Hollywood credit is such junk. Like you don't know. It's so unfair. And it seems, but Ralph McQuarrie's name is still on the special editions, and everybody. I think all the major players are basically still on there.
Yeah.
It's such a, especially for Empire, which doesn't really. I mean, we were talking about the disappointing changes, but like I think New Hope has a lot more disappointing special edition changes, and Jedi is like, I feel like Jedi is like a house gutting job in some scenes, but this is basically
I'm sure they not completely, but I'm sure they heavily CG the.
Yeah, well, they completely changed the songs in a couple of. Places.
Oh yeah, they replaced Yub Nub with that new one, which I don't know.
I can't remember.
Jedi Rocks.
Jedi Rocks.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's right. Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
What is this?
There's a in Return of the Jedi. There's this ridiculous, and we'll see it next week probably.
Depends on the version you watch, right?
Yeah, it's
shitty
only in the
one that
special.
Disney
It's only
Plus
in the
is
special
serving up
edition.
Is what we'll be watching.
It's this real. Maybe they fixed the CG, but in the original special edition, it was really, really poor CG of a singing and dancing frog.
Oh, I hate that frog. Yes, I do know the frog.
Yeah,
yes.
it's horrible.
And again, speaking of erasing people's contributions, the weird long mouth lip monster that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's terrible CG. It used to be a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a great puppet, though.
But I mean, I'd take that over the CG.
I will say, speaking of Return of the Jedi, what is a good puppet, though, is the weird blue elephant thing.
I think that's a suit, right?
I don't know what it is, but it's wonderful.
It is, yeah. It looks like he's made of marshmallow.
But anyway, that's next week.
I remember that.
Yes, it is. So, one of the things that people always talk about is that sort of startling, for lack of a better term, about this movie is that it puts its giant set piece at the beginning. Like, the Battle of Hoth is supposed to be your third act, not your opening gambit. Because, and again, just signs of having a better writer on board, the climax isn't this big, crazy, frenetic battle. It's this intimate sword fight, big reveal moment that is, a very different kind of thing. And again, after the first one, and just sort of the rules of adventure movies, you're supposed to have a big something at the end. And instead it's something that's so much like tighter focused on these two people having this fight. And at the time, it was a really big deal. Like, they thought it was crazy. It's like, no, that what are you doing? That's not how you open your movie. That's how you end it. And they're like, no, we're fine.
And if we weren't convinced enough that Darth Vader was just fucking with Luke, at one point Darth Vader just decides, I'm not even going to bother fighting this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw
Throwing
crap
shit
at
at
him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to beat the shit out of him from 20 feet away by throwing random artifacts.
The best part is I am sure it's still out there somewhere, but there is footage, it literally was just people right off screen just chucking shit at Mark Hamill.
I want that
Like, just
job.
Throwing toasters.
Just crewmen in t-shirts and shit, just fucking hucking things at him. Mark Hamill's flailing. David Prowse is in a corner with his helmet off having a cigarette, probably.
Cocaine.
Or that. Cocaine-laced cigarette, probably. Which is the brand that has the little divot in the filter so you can put cocaine in? That's the urban legend, but...
I think this is common knowledge, but they did not let David Prowse know that Darth was Luke's father.
That's right.
And he didn't find out until the day the movie was premiered. He found out at the same time America did.
Yeah,
Wait, so he didn't know what line he was saying?
Yeah,
the line they gave him was, I believe the line they gave him was, "I killed your father."
No, it was Obi-Wan killed your father.
Obi-Wan killed your father. That's right.
That's also a good twist.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
I mean, from a certain point of view, he almost did.
Yeah.
He thought he did,
point of
certainly.
view.
Yeah.
But I guess they took Hamill aside and said, "Okay, quick thing.
Yeah.
We're giving David Prowse blabs too much. He's tells convention fans everything. So what he's going to say is, 'I'm your father.' So you have to react like it was."
Meanwhile, Prowse is like, "Wow, he's really not taking this news about killing his father very well. I thought he always knew this."
Man, this kid's a real overactor. Jeez.
Yeah.
I bless Mark Hamill. But he does something with his face in that scene that keeps me from being able to take it entirely seriously. Because, the way he says no, it really emphasizes his incisors, so he just looks like a chipmunk to me during that part.
Yeah. Well, he's that primal. He's in touch with his animal nature.
Meow.
And at his heart, Luke Skywalker is a chipmunk.
Yes.
There.
I buy it.
Is he the Indiana Jones one or the Tom Selleck one?
I love how completely impractical that fall is. Like, I won't live like this. I'm gonna jump for it. Lucky it turns into a water slide. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, it's the Force. The Force.
Oh no, now I've fallen. Oh, good thing I grabbed this pole.
The Force. Will the Force.
Now to signal Leia, but how? But that's the thing, you don't care, because the I Am Your Father is so great.
Yeah.
You don't want him to win at that point. You just want him to go back out and lick his wounds and think about what's going on.
Get a fake hand put on and shit.
And this is what makes this... I think this is arguably the greatest sequel in movie history. Because it's the first one to make as much money as the original. And it's the first one to sort of... this was like the same year as Jaws 2, I think. But this was... they set up with Hoth, like you were saying, they set up the big fire sequence. And then instead of the ending, it ends at a completely different position than what you think the movie is promising.
Yeah.
And just the quiet, sort of rebellious emancipation from convention of that is...
Yeah, well,
I approve. High marks.
One of our heroes has been captured, possibly to be killed. We don't know. Luke has been maimed.
Did they know there was going to be a third movie, or did they not know?
Yes.
They did, and they weren't 100% sure if they'd be able to get Harrison Ford back,
that much I know.
which is part of the reason they did that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it works. For the end of the film, it also something occurred to me. I'm pretty sure outside of the original movie, the one we watched last week, outside of that, the only other time in the entire series that Luke is on the Millennium Falcon is when he gets picked up from Cloud City.
Yep.
He's never ever on the Falcon again.
Nope. There was going to be a sequence of him wandering around it, feeling all nostalgic in episode 8, but it got cut.
Well, why would he though? Because he's been on it 3 times. Otherwise, he's only in his only ever in his little fighter.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where you know, he was on it a bunch of times we didn't see because of
Did a
stuff.
lot of
I don't know.
masturbating in there.
Lucas didn't make it implicit. We can't be sure it happened.
Oh, no, the comics and the cartoons did.
Oh.
Right.
But no, you're right. And we actually, I don't think, ever see Han on the Falcon again after this, because he spends all of Jedi...
Well, we do in the sequels.
Well, that's true. Forgot about that. But yeah, at least for the original trilogy, it's the last time we see him for a while, because he's never on it in Jedi.
Can I say that I also really loved Chewie and Han fixing up the Falcon?
Oh,
It
yeah.
reminded me of when we watched Parallels, the TNG episode where Worf goes on a parallel universe adventure, and Riker and Worf are in the bad universe where everything is exploding and they're in a bad place, and they just look like everything's falling to pieces around them. It reminded me of that, and I found it delightful.
Yeah.
And also, I like how this movie fulfills the promise of the first movie, where everyone talks about how shitty and what a piece of junk the Falcon is. And in this movie, we actually see it's a piece of junk.
Yeah, really.
Like the whole movie, the entire movie, it opens, our first shot of like Chewie, he's working on the ship, trying to get it working. Then they spend the entire rest of the movie trying to get it to work. Really, if the Millennium Falcon wasn't a piece of junk, there wouldn't be a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because they would have just left and gone with the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, it's great.
Must have been really just very heartbreaking for Lando. It's like, oh, what the fuck? Where's the sweet blue stripe, you dickhead?
No idea what you're talking about.
In Solo, there was a nice...
It looked much nicer.
It
The
had a
paint was
racing
new.
stripe
It had
on
a
it,
nice
did it?
blue highlight. It was
in much better shape.
And it was full of the Katra, that robot he liked.
let's
Gross.
not think about that. That's weird, and I hate it.
I'm gonna think about it more.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's another. That's Solos treats this movie like Stations of the Cross or something. Like we must explain like that. There's that one offbeat reference C-3PO has about your computer has a strange dialect. All right, you heard the man. Let's bring in Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh my god, that is... Carl, I am using that for the rest of my life.
I think you already did in Solo when we covered it.
What?
We mentioned that when we covered Solo.
No, not that. Referring to saying that Solo treats this like the Stations of the Cross.
Oh, the Stations of the Cross.
That is fucking perfect.
I mean, that is basically... it's very
I don't know
apt.
what it means.
I'll explain later.
What do you mean you'll explain later? Maybe
We don't
the
have
fans
time to
don't-
go over
It's-
Catholicism.
Yeah,
Can you just come on, Carl? You can explain it in 3 sentences, can't you?
it's like religious rituals that are
Checklist. It's like a checklist.
Yeah. All the stuff you're supposed to do. I actually am not raised Catholic, so I don't know quite what it is. But like the liturgical calendar, where like every single day of the year has a religious ritual you're supposed to remember and carry out.
Yeah, but the Stations of the Cross is a very specific thing to do.
around
unsurprisingly,
Easter.
with the crucifixion, because
Right.
they're obsessed with that.
That's right.
Okay, great.
The bloodier the
See,
better.
that wasn't hard, was it, to explain that? Fine.
But no, that's
Thank
wow.
you, Carl.
That is, I have never heard so perfect a descriptor. That's
And all prequels are like that. It's. I mean, not all. I mean, the good ones aren't.
yeah.
I mean, Better Call Saul isn't like that.
Perhaps we'll call it the Read Alert.
Oh my god, I fucking despise that. It's so bad.
Oh, what's that from?
Enterprise.
It's from Enterprise.
Oh no.
Actually, I think it's Archer that suggests Read
I
Alert.
think he might, yeah. Oh, fuck, that is not a good
God
episode.
damn it, Archer.
God damn it, Archer! I'm rewatching Archer.
Oh, the H. John Benjamin Archer?
Yeah, and
excellent.
There's like a guy. Well, a running gag is that he keeps like shooting this one guy, Brett, and I think every time he shoots him, he's like, "God damn it, Archer!" And, like, I don't know.
H. John Benjamin is just funny.
Oh, he's great.
Like
Sweet.
anything his voice says, just funny.
Agreed.
Any brief final thoughts, or?
Star Wars is bad at torture devices. In this one, they're sort of slowly lowering Han into what looks like a reverse dentist's chair with sparks flying over it.
Apparently it hurt a lot.
Then in the New Hope, they have that torture device there looks like a styrofoam ball with like a needle welded onto it.
I like the one in Rogue One, that big monster thing that fucks you up.
Oh, is that like the tube? I don't remember Rogue One.
It's an alien that just like
it's a person.
scours your brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the pilot.
Rogue One would have a good torture
The
device.
pilot
That would be the movie.
lost his mind and had to be pieced back together.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, depending on who you ask, it's all downhill from here.
Rogue One is good.
Yeah, we've already done it though.
Yeah.
Oh,
what we've got
for
left
us.
is
Okay, fair.
Jedi, the prequels, and Episode 7.
I like the end of Jedi, but the middle is kind of the beginning's okay. The middle sucks. It's a bad
I remember,
middle.
and I'm going to be reminded next week, obviously, but I remember really liking Jedi, and every time, like, a thing that happens in Jedi didn't happen in this movie, which is why I asked at the beginning, like, wait, what is it that people really think this movie is the one for? Because all the things that I find memorable are in the next movie.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, the thing is about, I think the thing about Jedi preview for next week, and, we'll talk about it,
Next
but I think
week,
that...
start a steer her by.
I think it starts very strong. I think the Jabba stuff is really good.
Oh yeah.
I think
They should have ended
it
there.
ends really strong. I think the Luke Vader Emperor stuff is really good. I think basically everything that happens on the planet is could just be thrown out.
Well, we'll hear you say this next
is
week,
that
Jake.
the Ewok stuff? Because fuck
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Ewoks
really,
forever.
they kept it in because they're like, Han Solo doesn't have anything to do in this movie.
Yeah.
So we got to give him something to do.
We actually
paid
did
for
get
Harrison
back when we didn't expect to. So, all right.
Like,
one of these days, I
things
gotta
that piss me
get a
off.
card to hold up that just says "next week" to like put in your face every time we're doing this kind of thing. Speaking of next week, I'll hold up my card. This is next week.
Next week, we're gonna finish off the original Star Wars trilogy with the Return of the Jedi, Sith Lord's Revenge, Electric Boogaloo 2, and yeah, that's gonna be good. You get to listen to me bitch about Ewoks because fucking hate Ewoks, and
Yep. No.
yeah, it's gonna be
Spoilers.
great.
If
Yeah.
anyone loved Ewoks, I thought it would have been Caitlin.
Caitlin hates Ewoks.
Damn.
Yep, I hate them. Every fucking one of them. Anyway, more on that later. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, or if you just want to listen to a Star Trek podcast about Star Trek, you could skip this week. There's like 200 bajillion episodes before this that are just about Star Trek, so... just saying, if you have catching up to do, you can just skip this Star Wars shit, and by the time you've caught up, you're probably back to Star Trek. But next week, yeah, more Star Wars. But yeah, you can subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the next episode. You can subscribe to us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. You can also check us out on Facebook by searching for A Star to Steer Her By. We're on Twitter and Tumblr at SSHB Podcast. That's a Star Steer Her By podcast. Nice abbreves. You can also check us out at sshbpodcast.com, our home on the web, and there you can find all kinds of good shit, including most recently our lovely Deep Space Nine fanfictions, our top and bottom 5 of the Deep Space Nine entire series, and the top and bottom 3s for season 7. So go give that a read. Yeah, I think that's really it. I've been Caitlin.
I've been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Carl.
Thank you for joining us,
Carl,
Carl.
thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
back again. We love you.
Love you too.
Anything you want to pitch while you're here with us?
You should check out unreliable-narrator.com, at which virtual theater is available, probably including Stockholm, a virtual theater piece from last August featuring Chris Chiampa
Hello.
Whoa.
and featuring Liz.
Hey,
Oh, we know Liz.
Frequent flyer Liz. We know her.
That's right.
Awesome. You know, Carl, I want to apologize. I never got to watch it, so I will be visiting so I can see it because I feel terribly that I missed out, as I do love your work. Carl and
Thank
I
you.
go way back to 12. I want to say we started
2012.
working together, something like that.
Yeah,
Almost a
We
decade.
worked
Caitlin.
on lots and lots of theater. So
Yeah, Caitlin, frequent producer and stage manager of
Yeah.
Unreliable Narrator shows.
And Carl, brilliant artistic director, writer, basically everything that was ever called for ever. Carl is a
Wow.
powerhouse, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you for joining us again. I'm sure we'll see you sometime. You want to come back for Voyager at some point?
Sure. I like
Right.
Voyager.
All right.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I've got lots of fun planned for Voyager.
Excellent.
Excitement.
All right.
Well,
All right.
In the
May
meantime,
the
everybody.
Schwartz be with you.
Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's